Next, we move on to native court. Native court is very special, whereby it only exists in Sabah and Sarawak. Men for their people. So basically, in Sarawak is established. Native court established under the Sarawak Native Court. And basically, native courts, their hierarchy is like this. They have this Mahkamah Pengulu. And then the second one is Mahkamah Bagi Pegawai atau Ketua Anak Negeri. So the Mahkamah Pengulu is the headman's court, consists of headman and 2 assessors. And for the native courts or chief courts, they consist of native officer or a native and 2 assessors. And then the last in the ranking, they have this district native court, consists of the first class magistrates. Okay, these are the hierarchy is concerned. The next one is resident native courts. They are also appellate court. Okay, and they consist of resident together with the native officer or chief and 2 assessors. So basically, this native court of appeal may consist of 3, 5, or 7 members, including presiding judge. Now, the power is the same like the high court. The next one is on the Sabah Native Court, which is established under the Sabah Native Courts Ordinance 1953. So the hierarchy is almost similar to Sarawak. So they have this Mahkamah Anak Negeri or Native Court, consisting of native chief and headman as may be empowered. So they also have this District Officers Court, which is Mahkamah Pegawai Daerah, which is consists of district officer. And then they have this Native Court of Appeal or Mahkamah Rayuan Anak Negeri. So this consists of High Court. It consists of High Court Judge, the resident of the area, and 1 native chief appointed by the Yang di-Pertuan Negeri, bukan Yang di-Pertuan, is the Yang di-Pertua Negeri. Now, as far as native court is concerned, I'm just looking into the composition, who are they. I'm not going to go into detail. We are moving on next to special courts for rulers. So, special court for rulers established under Article 182 of the Federal Constitution. Okay, and it consists of the 5 persons presided by Chief Justice of the Federal Court as the Chairman, Chief Judges of the High Court, and 2 other judges, okay, who have held offices as the Judge of Federal Court or High Court. And basically, these members they are appointed by the Conference of Rulers or Majlis Raja-Raja, that's what they call, and they have capacity over proceedings against YDPA or any rulers of the state. They have rulers of the state in their personal capacity. So basically, they have this both criminal and civil jurisdiction as provided under the Article 182 Clause 3. Now, these are very special. It is meant for the rulers. They have all this exclusive jurisdiction, this special court. And to initiate a suit, you must get permission from the Attorney Generals. You can look at the case of Farida Begum, whereby there was a suit by a foreigner against the ruler of Pahang. It was dismissed during that time because the head of the state is actually immune from that proceedings at that time. So this is a very special case. They can take into action because as far as rulers is concerned, they are immune. But when the ruler himself, we're going to prosecute them or take actions against them, they are dealt under special court for rulers. Basically, you cannot take actions against the rulers, but the rulers themselves, if they commit an offense, it will be taken actions against them under the special court for rulers. Okay. Next one, we're going to look into martial court. Okay, what is martial court? Martial court is the actually army court. Yeah, martial court, army court is established under the Armed Forces Act 1972. So basically, they include regular forces of Malaysia. Okay. To which they are Malaysian Army, Royal Malaysian Navy, and Royal Malaysian Air Force. Okay. So, what are the constitution of the court? Constitution, this is governed by Section 105. If you look at the section, they have the president, and then some officers, okay, and then basically they should be subject to the service law and has been officers of for the first for 2 years, okay, and then president shall be an officer above the rank of lieutenant colonel or equivalent. And then this is when the court consists of 5 members. If it's less than 5 members, president shall be appointed by officer convening the court martial, shall not be ranked lower than the major. So when we talk about court martial, they're looking more into ranking. Why? Because presumably they are better off, they know the armed forces law and all. And then among the military offences, which is governed by this martial court, are the aiding the enemy, misconduct by other person in operation against the enemy, communication with enemy, or offences against moral. This is more for the armed forces themselves, meaning for those staff. They when they are actually giving service as the armed forces. Now, what are the punishment that can be awarded? Death punishment in severe circumstances. This is more for if you kill somebody, and then imprisonment for a term not exceeding 14 years, dismissal from His Majesty's service, and forfeiture of seniority of rank. Okay. Next one, we're going to go into court for children. Okay. There's Child Act. Okay, which repeal the Juvenile Court Act. So child means any person under the age of 18 and above 10 years old. Okay. Now, for child below 10 years old, if he commits a crime, he's not going to be tried in the court for children. He's not required to attend any court proceedings. Okay. To this effect, so basically Section 82 not basically 82 govern these children which is under the age of 10. Okay, next, what is the composition of the court? So it consists of 1 magistrate and assisted by 2 advisors, and to which one of the advisors shall be woman. My experience of going to court, I can see that actually those are coming from the Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat. They do their work, they actually become the advisors. Okay, and then what are the jurisdiction of the court for children? They can try all offences except punishable by death, and when they actually deal with these children, the CPC or Criminal Procedure Code, which is applied in the normal magistrates court, will also apply here. Now, again, we know that court for children, you cannot try anyone who has attained age of 18. But for those below 18, if the court give a sentencing, the court may actually make an order pursuant to Section 14 for detention of the child. Okay, detention can be in the place of some special place, or they can actually make an order of probation, sent for some hostel or Henry Gurney or some other approved institution. And they can also make order on the supervision of the child by a social officer, okay, or any probation officer, or can also make an order for any probation period. Now, what is the probation hostel? So it's actually meant for children above the 10 years of age. And then for Henry Gurney School is meant for children above 14. So that's all about the court for children. And then industrial court. Okay, it is set up under Industrial Relation Act 1967, to which it composed of 1 president appointed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. And then they have this panel of person representing employers and panel of person representing workmen, who shall be appointed by the minister. Basically, the president and chairman must be legally qualified, at least 7 years standing in professional practice, and then members of the employees panel and employees panel are appointed by the honorable ministers of the human resources. So basically, they are not that they are nothing like the magistrates who are legally who are actually in the federation of the service. But for the industrial court, the president or chairman, okay, they call it court, but actually it was like court, but it does they don't call it the judge. They call it the president or chairman. They just must have the 7 years standing in professional practice. Okay. Now, how do we actually look at this industrial court? We can see it's industrial. There's a word court there, but actually they are not really court. Now look at this the case, the hotel Malaya and another and National Union of Hotel Bar and Restaurant Worker, where His Royal Highness the late Raja Azlan Shah, he described the function of industrial court as exercise as in the quasi judicial function. It gives full reasoned judgment in nature of award. Function is actually to investigate, analyze, finding of facts and application of the law. Okay, so basically they are looking into more on that particular case. These are the industrial court function. Now, what are their jurisdiction? They are looking into matters relating to trade dispute and dismissal of workmen. So meaning of dispute is actually governed by Section 2 of the Industrial Relation Act, which mean that any dispute between employer and his workman which is connected with employment or non-employment or the terms of employment or conditions of work. So parties actually, they cannot take matters directly to the court. They must go to this industrial court. So a party to the dispute before the court may represent himself or be represented at the proceedings by any official of trade union or union employers. So decision handed down by the court are referred to as an award, which is final and conclusive. Now, whatever decision is final, conclusive, but what will happen after that if you're not satisfied? Because you find that there's some lacking in the procedural matter, there's some lacking in the substantial part of the law. This is where you can do a judicial review. Okay, I'm not going to touch on the judicial review. It's under the administrative law. I believe students of diploma corporate admin, you don't do administrative law, but student of diploma public admin, you're going to do any administrative law. Okay, so that's all about course of special jurisdiction. So this is other thing that I'm going to cover. So basically, what's in the slide are actually in the book. This is actually meant for those who does not have their book with them. Please read through all those documents that have been given. Okay. We meet again in the next lecture. Okay, thank you very much.